Humans, as proud members of the Homo genus, have come a long way over the course of our 2.8 million years of existence. This progress is particularly evident in the last 200 years, where unprecedented technological advancements have boosted global life expectancy to an impressive 73 years at birth. However, this achievement did not come easily. The path to where we are now has been riddled with challenges, many of which have been brought about by our own actions. If we look back in time, humanity's life expectancy has historically been very low. For example, in 18th century France, it hovered around 27 to 30 years. In classical Greece, it barely reached 25 years, while in the Bronze Age and Neolithic periods, it dropped to 26 and 20 years, respectively. Yet compared to other human species, modern Homo sapiens have had a relatively easy journey. And we should be immensely grateful for this because life in the early stages of humanity was, in many cases, brutally short and perilous. It's not uncommon for paleontologists to unearth the remains of our ancestors who died in terrifying circumstances, a reflection of the hostile environment and biological limitations they faced. Among all the human species, there was one that lived a particularly tragic existence, Homo habilis. According to recent research, this species, which roamed our planet around 2 million years ago, had such a shockingly low life expectancy that many individuals did not even make it to adolescence. The average lifespan of a Homo habilis is estimated to be a mere 12 years. To put this into perspective, that's more than 6 times lower than the current global average. And perhaps the most unsettling part is that this figure may actually be an overestimation. Studies were conducted based on 26 specimens, but the lack of remains of neonates and infants suggests that mortality rates were even higher, further reducing their average lifespan. This short-lived fate makes Homo habilis one of the most unfortunate human species, trapped in what was likely one of the harshest periods to be human. This brings us to an inevitable question. Why was life for Homo habilis so brutal? The answer, unfortunately, lies in the fact that nearly everything was working against them, starting with their own bodies. This species was one of the smallest in the Homo genus, standing at an average height of less than 1.2 meters, 4 feet, and weighing only around 60% of a modern human. Their diminutive size made them extremely vulnerable to injuries, and to make matters worse, they did not possess a robust skeletal structure that could offset this disadvantage. Adding to this was their partially arboreal lifestyle. Homo habilis spent a significant portion of their time in trees, which made them prone to severe falls. This risk is comparable to that of modern chimpanzees, who often suffer significant injuries from falling throughout their lives. However, Homo habilis were not as skilled at climbing as chimpanzees. While they had some ape-like adaptations, such as longer limbs and curved fingers for climbing, these traits were not always enough to guarantee their safety. These adaptations, combined with their short stature and overall fragility, placed them at a serious disadvantage against predators and the harsh conditions of their environment. Although Homo habilis represents a crucial step in our evolutionary journey, their short and difficult lives highlight the harsh realities faced by the earliest human species. In their case, evolution seemed to work against them, making them a symbol of how unforgiving survival can be in the natural world. At first glance, we might assume that a partially arboreal species like Homo habilis would primarily feed on plants and fruits. However, this species showed a surprising preference for meat, an unusual trait among early humans. This preference is evident in their large incisors, designed to cut flesh, and their proportionally massive, thick jaws, even more robust than those of any modern ape or human. These features allowed them to produce a powerful biting force, ideal for tearing meat from bones and scavenged carcasses. Although they also consumed fruits, tubers, and other vegetables, their meat-rich diet came with a significant drawback. It forced them to leave the relative safety of the trees. This became especially dangerous due to their fondness for fish, which brought them closer to rivers, lakes, and the lurking dangers that surrounded these areas. Are you enjoying what you're watching? If so, consider subscribing to the channel. It really helps me keep creating content like this for you. It costs you nothing, and it motivates me a lot to keep making more videos. So if you want to support the channel, go ahead and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss anything. However, the problem wasn't just the meat itself, but how they obtained it. For some reason, Homo habilis specialized in scavenging, a curious strategy considering their small size, poorly developed muscles, and extremely basic technology limited to rudimentary stone tools. This put them at a clear disadvantage when competing for carcasses with other, much larger and more dangerous scavengers and predators. According to a group of paleontologists, Homo habilis could barely defend themselves against animals like jackals or cheetahs, which only made their survival even more difficult. The real issue with their diet and lifestyle was the hostile environment they inhabited. Homo habilis lived in East and Southern Africa during a period when multiple giant predators roamed the land, all eager to contest ownership of a carcass or turn Homo habilis themselves into a meal. To put it bluntly, these early humans were easy prey. Fossil records indicate that more than 30 species of predators could have interacted with Homo habilis, ranging from giant hyenas to enormous saber-toothed cats. Among these predators, one of the deadliest was Megantereon, a feline roughly the size of a modern jaguar but with a more robust build. This predator had powerful hind limbs as strong as those of a lion and razor-sharp claws perfectly suited for grabbing and subduing its prey. A typical Megantereon attack would begin with its claws tearing into flesh, followed by a devastating bite. Its sharp teeth, including 2 long serrated fangs, would sink into the victim's neck, severing critical arteries and nerves. This method often caused a relatively quick death through blood loss or loss of consciousness. However, in rarer and more horrifying cases, Megantereon employed an even more gruesome method. It would envelop the victim's entire head with its powerful jaws. Evidence of this macabre attack was found in a fossil of a Homo habilis that bore bite marks on the occipital bone, located at the back of the skull. What's particularly shocking is that the angle of the marks revealed the attack occurred from the front, meaning that Megantereon literally covered the habilis's head with its mouth. This type of attack could cause skull fractures and brain damage, but it could also lead to death by asphyxiation as the predator's jaws blocked the victim's nose and mouth. But Megantereon was not alone in this deadly task. Homotherium and the formidable Macharotus also stalked the land. The latter stands out as one of the largest cats to have ever existed. Some Macharotus specimens weighed up to 405 kilograms, 890 pounds, a weight comparable to that of a male polar bear or a Smilodon. With such a massive size, a single swipe of its paw could easily take down a Homo habilis, especially the younger individuals who were the main targets of these predators. The most terrifying trait of Macharotus wasn't just its size, but its ability to leap with deadly precision. Though its legs were short, they weren't built for long chases, but for powerful jumps that allowed it to ambush prey quickly and effectively. Escaping by climbing a tree, a strategy often used by Homo habilis, was virtually useless against this agile and powerful predator. Although smaller than Macharotus, Homotherium was no less of a threat. This saber-toothed feline had shorter but wider canines compared to other saber-toothed cats, turning them into weapons perfectly designed to pierce and tear flesh simultaneously. These lethal tools were enhanced with crenulations, serrated, wavy edges that allowed Homotherium to deliver a uniquely devastating bite capable of slicing and penetrating tissue at the same time. This fang design enabled Homotherium to inflict catastrophic injuries in mere seconds. For Homo habilis, being caught by one of these predators meant a quick yet unimaginably violent death. If saber-toothed cats weren't enough, Homo habilis also had to contend with hyenas, predators that were equally terrifying. 2 species stand out as the most dangerous: Pachycrocuta and Chasmoporthetes. Pachycrocuta, known as the giant hyena, was a true bone-crushing machine. Comparable in size to a lioness, this hyena possessed one of the most powerful bites of any terrestrial mammal. Its bone-breaking ability not only caused devastating injuries, but also gave it easy access to marrow, a valuable resource in scavenged carcasses. And this made it a fearsome competitor for scavenging, easily driving Homo habilis away from any remains they were trying to feed on. Adding to the danger, Pachycrocuta hunted in packs, multiplying the threat. To make matters worse, hyenas have an infamous habit of devouring their prey alive, an absolutely horrifying fate for anyone caught by them. On the other hand, Chasmoporthetes, though smaller, posed an entirely different set of problems. Nicknamed the running hyena for its aerodynamic body and cheetah-like legs, this species was far faster than Homo habilis. Its ability to reach high speeds made it a formidable hunter, particularly against Homo habilis, which lacked the capacity to sprint long distances at high speed. These hyenas were hypercarnivorous, with over 70% of their diet consisting of meat, which they shredded with sharp teeth reminiscent of large cats. With these traits, both Pachyrhinacuta and Chasmoporthetes ensured that life for Homo habilis was a relentless struggle for survival. If saber-toothed cats and hyenas weren't enough, the true horrors lurked underwater. The gigantic crocodiles that shared the environment with these early humans posed an even greater challenge, especially considering that Homo habilis had a habit of fishing with their bare hands. Without sophisticated tools, wading into the water to catch fish was practically an open invitation to become prey for these monstrous creatures. Among the crocodiles that coexisted with Homo habilis, two colossal species from the genus Crocodilus stand out: Crocodilus anthropophagus and Crocodilus thorbjarnarsoni. Both were true titans of rivers and lakes, with sizes and behaviors that made them terrifying predators for our ancestors. The name of this species leaves a little room for doubt. Anthropophagus literally means human eater. This giant crocodile, which could reach 7.5 meters in length and weigh up to 1.5 tons, was a constant threat to Homo habilis. Its human-based diet is backed by direct fossil evidence. Remains of two juveniles were found with severe damage to their legs and feet, injuries that perfectly match the bite marks of this crocodile. The anthropophagus hunting strategy was brutal but effective. It would silently lie in wait underwater and with a lightning-fast strike grab its victims by the legs. Then it employed its infamous death roll, either tearing off limbs or simply drowning its prey. Once caught, there was no escape. If its size and hunting methods weren't terrifying enough, this crocodile also had prominent bony ridges above its eyes, giving it an even more menacing appearance. This visual characteristic, combined with its powerful bite, earned it the title of a true demon of the rivers. While Crocodilus anthropophagus was terrifying, Crocodilus thorbjarnarsoni holds the title of being the largest member of its genus and one of the biggest true crocodiles to have ever existed. This species, which roamed during the early days of Homo habilis, could grow up to 8 meters, 26 feet in length, surpassing even the largest saltwater crocodile recorded today. What made C. thorbjarnarsoni particularly unique was its skull, not only massive but also significantly wider than that of any modern crocodile. This anatomical feature likely allowed it to crush prey with tough shells, such as large turtles. However, like many crocodiles, this giant was an opportunistic feeder, meaning any creature crossing its path, including early humans, could end up in its jaws. Although the fossil record for this species is limited, experts believe that some individuals might have grown even larger, solidifying C. thorbjarnarsoni's status as one of the greatest aquatic predators of all time. One of the most important Homo habilis fossils is the specimen known as OH7, also considered the holotype for the species. This fossil is not only significant for its scientific value, but also for the stories of survival and tragedy it reveals. OH7 shows clear signs of having met a particularly violent end, likely at the hands or jaws of more than one predator. The leg and foot bones of OH7 exhibit deep and wide bite marks that perfectly match the teeth of a giant crocodile, suggesting it lost a limb and its life in a brutal attack. However, the story doesn't end there. Recent studies have also identified bite marks on the skull, specifically on the parietal bone. These smaller, less uniform markings don't match crocodilian teeth. Instead, they resemble the bites of a large mammalian carnivore, possibly a feline about the size of a leopard. Although it's unclear whether the mammal's attack occurred before or after OH7's death, one thing is certain: Homo habilis lived under constant siege from multiple predators. Beyond the giant crocodiles and the wide variety of carnivores already discussed, Homo habilis also shared its environment with certain snakes that could have posed a lethal threat to some individuals. While there is no direct fossil evidence linking snakes to attacks on Homo habilis, they have been a constant danger to primates throughout evolutionary history. Even today, snakes are responsible for tens of thousands of deaths annually in Africa, particularly those with potent venom. Among uncontacted tribes, attacks from constrictor snakes remain one of the leading causes of mortality. Some scientists believe that this dangerous relationship triggered an evolutionary arms race between humans and snakes, with enhanced vision being a key adaptation for detecting camouflage predators, including snakes. In fact, it has been suggested that primates are biologically predisposed to fear snakes, a trait that may have its roots in the days of Homo habilis. When we think about the dangers faced by Homo habilis, predators often take center stage. However, the herbivores and omnivores of prehistory also presented a deadly challenge. Picture encountering a prehistoric rhinoceros, far bulkier and more robust than its modern descendants, or a hippopotamus, which, in its territorial rage, wouldn't hesitate to charge at any intruder. Let's not forget the giant boars with tusks sharp enough to pierce both skin and bone, or the massive birds like Gastornis. While these avian titans didn't hunt humans, they commanded immense respect due to their towering size and razor-sharp beaks. These animals didn't need sharp teeth to be lethal. Their strength, territorial nature, and instinct to defend their ground were more than enough to turn any encounter into a life-or-death situation for our ancestors. Prehistory was not just a world of hunters and prey, it was a brutal arena where even the most seemingly peaceful creatures could become deadly adversaries. As if predators and territorial giants weren't enough, the diet of Homo habilis also took a heavy toll on their health, particularly their teeth. Out of 26 individuals studied, only 40% had teeth in good condition. The remaining 60% exhibited severe wear with eroded enamel, chipped teeth, and deep cracks. This issue was especially alarming considering the lifespan of Homo habilis. The oldest individual studied was only 25 years old, yet their teeth were in a state comparable to modern seniors with poor dental hygiene. In one extreme case, a 17-year-old exhibited dental damage worse than that of an elderly adult today. The dental wear experienced by Homo habilis wasn't solely caused by meat consumption, but by a diverse diet that included tough plant material and even bones. As scavengers, they likely didn't have access to the prime cuts of food. Instead, they were forced to consume leftovers that were not only tough to chew, but also harmful to their dental health. And this dietary challenge highlights the harsh reality of survival during this era. Every meal was a struggle, and the toll it took on their teeth was just another reminder of the precarious existence of early humans. The life of Homo habilis was shaped not only by visible dangers, but also by an invisible yet devastating enemy, the climate. During the Pleistocene epoch, Africa experienced drastic climatic changes, with periods of cooling and extreme aridity that transformed lush landscapes into barren, inhospitable terrain. Water sources dried up, food resources became scarce, and the once vibrant savannas turned into deadly traps. In this harsh environment, hunger became a constant companion. Many Homo habilis communities were forced to rely on scavenging as a desperate survival strategy. However, feeding on the remains left behind by apex predators was no easy feat. Every carcass became a battleground where lions, hyenas, and other carnivores fiercely fought to claim their share. These encounters not only increased the risk of fatal confrontations, but also intensified competition between species, pushing predators to become more aggressive as they too struggled in an ecosystem under siege. The deterioration of climatic conditions was not just a physical challenge, it was a test of adaptability. This era marked a relentless struggle for Homo habilis to endure, facing both the whims of nature and the unforgiving dynamics of a food chain under pressure. It was a world where every day brought a new battle for survival. Homo habilis not only faced other predators, but also competition from other human species like Homo erectus, Homo rudolfensis, and Paranthropus boisei, all of whom shared the same regions. Fossils of Homo habilis found alongside these species suggest that interactions between them were not always peaceful. For instance, it is known that at least one Paranthropus specimen was killed, likely by Homo habilis, and may have even ended up as a food source. However, in other confrontations, Homo habilis was probably the loser due to several disadvantages. First, Homo habilis was the smallest human species of its time and the least adapted to terrestrial life, putting it at a clear disadvantage in physical confrontations. Second, their brain size, averaging between 500 and 687 cubic centimeters, was significantly smaller than that of Homo erectus, whose brains could be nearly twice as large. This difference likely resulted in a gap in intelligence and technological skills. Homo erectus had access to controlled fire and specialized tools like knives and hand axes, which gave them a significant advantage in any confrontation. Against such well-equipped rivals, Homo habilis had to rely on its resourcefulness and adaptability just to survive. In prehistory, danger often came from the most unexpected places, and one such threat was Dinopithecus ingens, the colossal ancestor of modern baboons. This primate, which could reach the size of a small gorilla, was a force to be reckoned with. Armed with canine teeth that rivaled those of big cats and a muscular build designed for battle, Dinopithecus did not need to be a predator to inspire fear. Imagine Homo habilis traversing the African landscape, suddenly coming face to face with one of these giants. Their territorial nature and natural aggression made them formidable opponents. A simple encounter could quickly escalate into a deadly conflict, especially if Dinopithecus felt its group or resources were being threatened. These giant baboons likely lived in groups, and much like modern primates, they probably had complex social structures. This meant that facing one could attract the attention of the entire troop, turning a dangerous situation into utter chaos. For Homo habilis, an encounter with Dinopithecus ingens was not just a matter of strength, but of wit and sheer luck to escape without injury. While these primates did not hunt humans, their presence was a constant reminder that danger in prehistory didn't always come with claws or hunger, but from the territorial nature of creatures unwilling to tolerate intruders. Despite their disadvantages in many areas, Homo habilis seems to have possessed certain factors that allowed them to survive longer than expected. One possible answer lies in their use of tools, which enabled them to access nutrient-rich resources like bone marrow and tough plant material, giving them a significant advantage in terms of sustenance. Additionally, it has been suggested that Homo habilis may have developed rudimentary shelters, such as simple huts that offered protection against the severe climate of their time. Another factor that likely favored their survival was the ability to live in large groups, which provided mutual protection and increased the chances of individuals avoiding predator attacks. However, while group cooperation may have reduced risks, it was not enough to secure the species' long-term survival.